Hello, ladies and germs. Wanted to provide part 2 update on the Streets LA attempted temporary restraining order. Guys, this is a marathon court experience, and guess what? Long story short, give you the headline in the beginning. The can is kicked even further down the road until tomorrow. So there's absolutely no resolution based on today, although a lot of interesting updates. First, wanted to make a slight point of clarification. I don't think I messed up on this one, but there's a little bit of slight misinformation remarking that Eckers, the plaintiff, almost fainted inside the courtroom. He fainted outside the courtroom. The judge did not see him almost faint, and he did not ask, interestingly enough, for medical attention or anything like that. But I don't think I think I remarked that he fainted outside the courtroom versus inside in the video, or at least the title reflects that. But if I made that mistake, want to let you know. So, as we know previously, Jessica Palmadessa took the stand. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the response that they had after she took the stand. So one of the conversations is that Eckers felt like his dog had been threatened, and that there was this concerted effort to remove his dog and forcibly take the dog away from him. Now, there have been a lot of on-the-ground reports saying that Eckers has frequently used his dog to try to interact with people, interact with protesters, and had that be used as an excuse to insert himself in the situation and to interact with the protesters. The attorney for the plaintiff, the Scientology side, played a clip of Jessica and I believe William, if I'm not mistaken, both of them saying free the dog. Now, why this isn't that important is because this is not a concerted campaign to actually get the dog removed from the plaintiff. I say that because not once did either Jessica or William say, call ASPCA, call the Humane Society, call a shelter, let's try to create tangible action to remove this dog, right? Letters to PETA, whatever it might be. If there's some specific action item, then you have much more of a case for the plaintiff's side when they say somebody is trying to harass them, and in their harassment, what they're doing, as one of the examples, is trying to separate their dog. But it's clear by the video that they're just joking, and they're just kind of screaming things out loud, which isn't an exact directive. So that was a pretty weak situation, and a lot of these are weak. I think are weak on the plaintiff's defense part. Remember, in the last development, we got the major revelation that the plaintiff, his attorney fees are being supplied by Scientology, specifically in the name of a very prestigious boutique law firm. Boutique means they could give you that individual attention that you need, and certainly they have aggressive attorneys. One of the other big points of contention that the attorneys for the plaintiff was not successful with is one of the aggressive attorneys in the boutique law firm for the plaintiff really wanted to know from Jessica how much money has she made from TikTok and from YouTube. Jessica very smartly declined to answer that. And after some back and forth with William's attorney being very effective, it was ruled that the tangible amount that she makes is not relevant in terms of the conversation of this case and granting this restraining order. So 2 failures in one day. That was a big point of contention where they really wanted Jessica to reveal, because of course she'd appear less sympathetic as a witness if she said, hey, I'm making, not that she is, but if she said, hey, I'm making $10 million. Then again, they tried to push again, and they kept, Jessica got banned from TikTok. TikTok randomly bans people, oftentimes for no reason. The attorney for the plaintiff was hoping that there was some saucy, sultry reason that Jessica did something inappropriate, and this aggressive attorney kept saying, well, did you do something that violated their standards? So she was hoping Jessica said something uncouth or inappropriate, where again, they could assail her character as a witness. Again, Jessica said she didn't know why they wanted to push. The judge essentially said, let that whole situation go. So then she also wanted to show that Jessica was biased, and so she quoted, her cursing, and they quoted her cursing as essentially her antagonizing the plaintiff. Obviously, it's clear that the plaintiff has inserted himself, and there's another back and forth about that specifically. There was a moment where the attorneys for the plaintiff were trying to indicate that William has consistently, and Jessica as his kind of right-hand man, right-hand woman, were consistently trying to seek out Joey. And the one moment that they got is that there was an empty block where Joey was by himself. Jessica realized that, and according to the attorney, she called William over to say that, hey, Joey is right here. Well, this was still half a block from the Scientology scene, so obviously this is a result of William wanting to continue to insert himself within the situation. But they did get a little bit of a score in that regard, because it was the one instance where Joey was isolated and Good apparently gravitated towards him. Now, there are a million other instances, and this will be discussed when William testifies himself. There are a million other instances where Joey has inserted himself and has followed William far more than William has found himself in Joey's space when there weren't other people in the situation. So that was the most important crux. Sorry, guys, I'm just looking at my notes. She also tried to make Jessica scared, this attorney. She was like, hey, do you know that in this declaration that you have that you could go to jail for perjury? And Jessica's like, yeah. I don't think she kind of felt the gravity of what that question was. Oh, another thing that they keep grasping at straws, guys, that the attorneys for the plaintiffs did. They keep grasping at straws. Jessica made the mistake that every casual person who's not involved in court or is not covered court would make. She kept referring to Joey by his first name instead of his last name. So the attorney for the plaintiffs wanted to make hay of that and say that that was indicative of Jessica being intentionally disrespectful when she was referring to Joey. Now, Jessica had the best comeback. She said, well, my brother's name is Joey, and I call my brother Joey. And so the fact that and they did had to remind her 5 times because she kept saying Joey to refer to the last name. But it's a reflex. If you know the person, it's a reflex to refer to them by their first name. So that really wasn't much of an argument. They kept trying, again, they don't really have much to work with, so they're trying to find this stuff out of thin air and to really try to bake it in an oven and have that be indicative evidence that she has this massive disrespect and personal vendetta against Joey, which isn't necessarily the case. So that was important that I found in my notes. Sorry guys, just looking a little extra. I think we got most of what we need. We got the money part. Quoting Jessica specifically. And they also showed, again, so they showed some videos. Oh, and the last thing that's an important thing to talk about that I have in my notes that reminds me, which is what everybody's curious about. Why did people's streams all of a sudden end? Or why were there some streams deleted? This is why. Because you're not, apparently, although the signage is pretty vague on that whole front, you're not supposed to film inside the court building. Not only inside the courtroom, which is more obvious, but not even inside the court building. Ironically, and this is again how this fancy boutique law firm keeps shooting themselves in the foot, the boutique law firm wanted to use Jessica's video of her filming in the courtroom because she apparently insulted Joey. And that would indicate her bias. Now, obviously, she's biased. I don't even know why they're trying to grasp at the straws that she's a bias. Yeah, no shit, she's a biased player. But again, this is how little, guys, they have to work with. Where all this stuff that, if you talk about it for more than 3 seconds and we talk it out, makes Jessica and William still seem consistently reasonable the entire time, and nor that there was a directive intent to harass. But remember, they got to work with as little as they can, and they ain't got much to work with. That's a problem. So that was a big argument because they wanted the bit that Jessica filmed to be projected to show that she was biased. Funnily enough, happy accident, because there was a big hour-long debate about whether or not this footage could be used, the footage cannot. And guess what? Jessica is finished being on the witness stand herself. So all clear. So ironically, even though people are criticizing Jessica and some others for filming inside the court building, not the courtroom, the court building, Ironically, what that means is, guess what? They don't get to use that in evidence. So Jessica actually helped herself out and helped William out, ironically. So that's the general rub of the exciting case. There's a lot to report on because these are, unlike the little, it's a significant court case, but unlike the Jane Doe situation where these whole machinations last a maximum of 10 minutes, this is a 5-hour slog altogether. And tomorrow, William, Streets LA takes the stand, and it's essentially just Streets taking the stand from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. And guess what? You will have me to cover for you. Thank you guys. I hope you do subscribe. I appreciate it. And if you do want to help out, I got a little Venmo. I got that in a link. I got a little Cash App, and I always accept hotels and Airbnb gift cards because I'm staying at a crappy ass motel, but I kind of love it. I'm a motel guy. But a few people are asking how they can support. Not that that's a big deal. But anyway, guys, please do subscribe, and I will be reporting for you a la mañana. Hasta luego.